took me 30 years in business and a near-death experience to finally realise what truly matters, and I'll tell you in the next 10 minutes. And if you've ever felt like no matter what you do, it's never enough, then this is for you. And trust me, what I discovered is probably the opposite of what you've been told. You see, for decades, I was chasing what I thought would finally make me happy. You know, the money, the cars, the properties, the so-called dream. Sounds great, right? Well, it nearly broke me. And I thought if I just worked harder, moved faster, and kept grinding, I'd eventually get there. But here's the truth. There is no finishing line. There's no moment where suddenly, everything is complete. And the longer you chase that illusion, the more you trade your happiness for stress, resentment, and burnout. And I know this because I've lived it. I've built businesses, I've bought toys, I ticked all the boxes, and still I felt like I was never there, right? And it took me hitting rock bottom after a near-death accident to finally see the truth about success and purpose. So in this video, I'm going to give you what took me 30 years to learn the hard way, so maybe you don't have to. At 51 years of age, right now, it's, now that I've only realized that life is so short, and truth be told, we are running out of time, but not running out of time to be happy, fulfilled, and successful. And when it's all said and done, it all comes down to what you are chasing. My name is Richard G-Cornell, and this channel is dedicated to helping people create their own destinies. I've been in business for 30 years, helping brands sell more of their products and services, but most importantly, I will show you how to cope and succeed in your journey whilst enjoying it along the way. So let's get into it. The problem. From as early as I can remember, I was always in a hurry. Even from a very young age, I felt that I didn't have enough time to make it, so to speak. I have vivid memories of trying to work out, how long it would take me to be successful. I even went as far as to do the maths on how much I would need to make, to achieve my goals. But what may look like greed, it couldn't have been further from the truth. For me, it was never about being super rich, right? It was all about being in control of my own destiny, so I wouldn't have to rely on anyone but myself, so I could have a good life. And this all came from seeing my dad being forced into an early retirement after being made redundant from a highly specialised job, and he was in his mid-50s. He was never able to get employed again because of his age. And this not only rocked his world, but it also left a massive impact on my family and the way in which I viewed the world. And what happened to him made me so determined to make sure that that would never happen to me. So the obvious choice for me was to start my own business at the age of 21. So for the next 30 years, to where I am today, right now, I pushed myself harder than ever, I was clear on my goals, and I did everything in my power to learn and gain experience. And one thing that being in business teaches you more than anything else, it's resilience. It gives you the ability to dig yourself out of very dark places, even when you think that there is no way out, yeah? And as the years go by, you get used to being comfortable in very uncomfortable situations. But with this mindset, you end up thinking that your best is never good enough. And what's even worse is that you start thinking that you don't have enough time to achieve your goals. And that's the trap that nobody ever warned me about. So to combat this, you work harder at making more money in smaller amounts of time. You start looking at time as your biggest threat, your number one enemy. And you stop seeing time for what it really is. And instead of appreciating time, you start seeing time as your main motivator. But for what? Well, we're going to get into that later. So what did I do to ensure that time wouldn't beat me? Well, first, I kept focusing on making more money. And with the money I made, I invested in property, and not just any property, multiple properties. Why? Because I knew that property is a tremendous vehicle for wealth. I thought that if I kept buying property, then one day I wouldn't need to worry about anything and I'd be happy and content. Well, that was the plan anyway. And what else? Well, I bought nice cars, I bought boats, I bought bikes, I bought all the luxuries that I never had when I was growing up. And I did this to make myself feel good. But even though it did make me feel good at the time, the funny thing was that once I bought these nice things, I almost instantly thought of the next bigger and better thing. So was I happy and content? Well, I was happy, but I didn't realize that I wasn't content. And that's where my first problem started. Now, I don't want to paint a picture of myself as a money-hungry, greedy person, who gave up life for money, as it's not the case, right? And along the way, I got married, I had 2 beautiful kids who are now adults, and I never missed any of their activities growing up. And this is the one thing that I'm very proud of. But in trying to keep not only my work-life balance in check and making sure that my business continued to grow, I just didn't realize that I was now on a treadmill that I just couldn't get off. And I was now feeding a beast that needed to be fed rain, hail or shine, I needed to continue to make more, to grow more, to sacrifice more, just to be happy, or so I thought, and I needed to do it fast. And what this ended up doing to me was making me feel like that there was never an end goal in sight. I never felt like I was ever going to get there because I didn't understand what contentment was and what it looked like. I was so busy chasing that I never stopped and smelt the roses for more than 30 seconds. I never felt truly satisfied, and I was confusing contentment for happiness, which only now I see that they're two entirely different things. And yes, I was happy with everything that I achieved, don't get me wrong, and the beautiful family that I created. But along the way, that dream I set for myself, it got distorted. The more money I made, the more I wanted. The more things that I bought, the more I needed. And the goals I set for myself, the more I needed to achieve. And the one thing about being in business for 30 years, it's that once you rest, you fail. If you stop, you lose, but not necessarily money. You lose to your own mind telling you to keep going, the realization. Now, it's not until you hit rock bottom that you start to understand what truly matters in life. And for me, it was after a pretty serious dirt bike accident a couple of years ago where I ended up having brain surgery and I nearly lost my life. I nearly died, okay? And I lived life at such a fast pace that even riding my dirt bike, it just wasn't fast enough. I won't get into the specifics here, but I made a video on that as it taught me some pretty serious business and life lessons. So go check it out. It's worth a watch. Anyway, when I came out of hospital, I was told I needed to slow down and relax, which for me, it was absolutely foreign. And for the first week or so, I did slow down because I had to, but it didn't make me start sort of being happy. It started making me questioning everything. I looked at the toll it had on my family. I started questioning everything about my business, my worth, my dreams, and aspirations, and a whole heap more. It made me quickly realize that this was probably a blessing in disguise. And why? Because it stopped me dead in my tracks, so to speak, and it made me face my purpose head on, about what I really wanted from this life. What was I chasing, and was I content? And was I doing everything that I really wanted to do? And I could honestly say for the first time in my life that I did see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I wasn't dead or had a near-death experience. It was just made me be honest about myself, about what I needed to do next, right? But you know what the most amazing realization was that I had? It was all of a sudden that time as I knew it, it wasn't my enemy anymore. It was funny how everything automatically slowed down, I wasn't scared anymore of not making it. I wasn't feeling like I wasn't good enough anymore. I stopped feeling that I wouldn't be okay. Time was now my friend, and I looked at time for what it was. I saw time not as a clock that I needed to fight against, but an opportunity to do more with less and be content with anything and everything, around me. And I stopped seeing my business as a beast I needed to feed. I stopped looking at being in my own company as a dark place that I constantly tried to avoid. I stopped looking at trying to achieve so much in such a short space of time. And as a consequence, I stopped being in such a rush all the time. And ironically, it set me on a new path, a new journey with something I'd always thought about, but doing later in life. And it made me hungrier now than ever, but not by consuming more or buying more. But what it did was to give me a sense of purpose that I thought I had, but it was just hiding in the shadows. The solution. In February 2025, I started this YouTube channel, and it wasn't to be famous or make money. It was to tickle a niche that I had for some time, but I never did anything about it. And for me, I never wanted to be in front of a camera like this, right? I always thought that it wasn't for me, and it made me quite uncomfortable. Now, mind you, in my line of work, it's nothing for me to do a keynote, presentation in front of hundreds of people on stage, but sharing my knowledge online was nothing I'd ever seen myself doing. I also started a business coaching and mentoring business at the same time. Why? Because this new business was something I was going to do later in life once I'd sold my current digital marketing agency. I never thought that I could do, both at the same time. And prior to the accident, my purpose, it was just to make enough money so I could enjoy more time to myself with things I thought were making me content. The last thing I ever wanted to do was to create more work for myself. That was not going to happen. But here I am making content on everything that I've learned from being in business for 30 years. And starting this YouTube channel and starting a new business, it gave me purpose again. And it made me more content, more now than ever. And even getting very minimal views and almost no engagement, right? It's not stopping me from sharing and expecting nothing in return. I'm just so happy that I started it, and I'm enjoying it so much. And hopefully, because this may resonate with someone out there who is trying to find their purpose and journey in life. So if I can be so bold as to ask you for a little favor, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And I would truly get a kick out of someone commenting just to let me know if I've helped them. And I never dreamed that I would look at purpose like this. And I couldn't have imagined that I'd be happy just to simply be still and in my own thoughts, so to speak. But I'm working harder now than ever, I'm utilising every bit of time more carefully, and I'm creating more than I'm consuming on a daily basis. And I realise that time, it doesn't care about me or my dreams. I realise that no matter what happens, no matter how bad it is at the time, everything will work out in the end. And why? Because that's the way the world works. Things are born, they grow, then they die. It's a cycle that you can't change. And if you think that you're not good enough, then you can change that. It simply comes down to how you perceive yourself and how you look at this world. Now, I know that I'm, content now, and even when I find myself in dark places, because the darkness, it's never going to stop, right? No matter who you are. But light will also appear each and every morning. And with that new day comes new opportunities. And that is now my main motivation at looking at what tomorrow brings. I've also learned along the way to be kinder to myself, to reassure myself that I am good enough. I congratulate myself, with what I've achieved. I love myself for who I am and the person that I am. And I suppose the best thing that I've discovered is to go to sleep each night with a positive thought that tomorrow, it's a new day. Now, I know that even through my circumstances may not change overnight, right? The direction and purpose in my thoughts, though, can have a positive impact on the day that awaits me. So, did I go and sell all my things or stop wishing for the next, shiny new toy? Well, I didn't. But what I'm doing now, it's making me appreciate everything that I have more than I did before. And it also made me start, being more mindful in knowing that time is running out for all of us. And at the end of the day, we are all the same. We all have dreams and aspirations. We all have happy times and not so happy times. And no matter who you are, no one's going to be able to beat the clock. And you don't need to have a near-death experience or hit rock bottom like I did. You only need to stop for a minute and ask yourself, what will truly make me content? And no matter what this may look like to you, is the only thing that you will really need to focus on in this life. And without trying to sound like I know it all, because I don't, right? I don't see myself like that. I'm not special. I'm just like you who is still on a journey, and I'm stoked to be given this special gift of life, just like you. And I finally realized after 30 years in business is that with everything that they're trying to sell us, how to be, who to be like, how to be successful, how to beat the system, how to be rich, it's all around us. We have one thing that is ours and it's free. And it's time to be on our own, to be in our own thoughts, to be able to dream and find purpose in anything that we wish to seek next. And yes, time is running out, but it's running out for all of us. And there is no one out there who is more special than us. We matter, our dreams matter, and our journey is what matters the most. But most importantly, there is absolutely nothing we need more than purpose and to find our journey that we can experience. Our journey starts with nothing more than a thought, right? And an idea of, what may lay ahead. And we can start today. Dream for a second and fantasize of what your life might look like for you, right? It might make things easier, but it'll also make you content. But having purpose is where happiness and contentment truly lies. Now this wraps up my video today, and I really hope that you can find something in here that can give you that spark and the reassurance that you matter, you are good enough, your dreams matter, and everything is going to work out in the end, okay? And despite all the social media telling us, how to be or who to be like, it's not going to matter in the end. But what matters is your ability to enjoy the journey and path that you take. Because remember, you're never going to get there in life. This is it. So do your absolute best to make, the most out of every minute. So thank you very much for watching. And I would love it if you could please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, as I have a heap more coming. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.